Hey everyone, so today I'm going to show you how to create the correct dimensioned part drawing for this drill block for activity 7.3 tolerances. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new DDP title block, and it's going to ask me for some information. So here you'll type in your name. Scale should be either 1:1 or half scale, depending upon how much room you have. I'm going to do half scale, but you're welcome to do 1:1 or half scale. This is revision number 1, and I'm just going to put sheet number 1. Just going to say okay to any of the prompts that arise. So first thing that I'm going to do, let me just make sure this is big enough. I'm going to put the part inside of my drawing. And I am going to rotate it. I'm going to start with placing this view in my, you can place it in your top view, or you can place it down here in your front view, whichever one. I'm going to place mine up here, about right there. Place the right side view, right click, and say OK. So here I have basically the top view. So this is going to show my width and my depth for my part, as well as the height over here. So first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to start by creating that section view, because I know that I should have this already in the file. So if for some reason you don't have it already, you can create it again, or if you're starting from scratch, you know where to go. Notice that when I placed the arrows, I was outside of the part. So if you place the arrows directly on the part right here, it'll give you a jagged, sort of rough appearance for that first section view. So you want to make sure that you give yourself plenty of room for that. And notice that the arrows are not touching the object. Okay, just going to quickly show you what happens. If you do have the arrows touching the object and you create that sort of view, it's not going to let me in this one. You create it like this, touching here and touching here. You do that, notice that it gives it that jagged appearance. Okay, so you want to make sure that you don't do that. I'm just going to undo. So according to the directions in activity 7.3 tolerances, procedure 5 says open the drill block drawing that you created in activity 7.2. The drawing is shown below, so you should have an image of what that drawing should be dimensioned like. So I'm just going to quickly add in some of those dimensions. So before it had us chain dimension this object right here, but I'm going to actually baseline dimension by clicking on the outside of all of these features right here. Right click, continue. Left click to place, right click to create. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Baseline, I'm going to dimension from here to the circle and to here. And luckily Inventor should pick up the center of those circles. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of extra room over here since I have the section view line. And right click to create. And last but not least, I'm also going to place a dimension down here for the overall height of this object and say OK. I'm also going to add those center marks by going up here. I'm going to click on the larger outside circle to add those center marks, so that way the center line actually shows past the circle. And I'm also going to add that center line over here. And as of right now, that looks pretty good. So going off of the directions for number 5, I need to, according to letter A, add a bilateral or symmetric tolerance of 1/10 of an inch for the overall length, the overall width, and the overall depth. So in order to do that, I'm going to double click on this dimension right here, and I'm going to go to precision and tolerance. It says to do a bilateral or symmetric. So that will allow me to place a tolerance that is the same amount in either direction, adding it to that specified dimension and subtracting it from that specified dimension. So I'm going to just change the number. My units are fine. and say OK. And it should add it to there. I want to add that to both of these dimensions, so I'm going to use my control button to highlight both of those dimensions. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to new dimension style for those specific dimensions. Okay. You could go back and you could do them each individually the way that I just did it. Or you can do them all at the same time. If you go up here to tolerance and place it on symmetric and give it that limit 0.10, leave the precision, say OK, and it should add that into both of those. I'm just going to kind of bump this out so we have a little bit of extra room. I'm going to end up rotating those dimensions anyways. So next one that I need to do is letter B, stack limit dimensions to locate the holes along the depth dimension, which is the 2-inch depth dimension, such that the dimension can vary between the dimension given above and 0.03 of an inch larger. Okay, so the dimension given above, which is 1 inch right here, because this shows the depth of where my holes are, how far into the object from the front, right here would be the front, that the holes are placed. So I have my 1 inch dimension right here. Just going to double click that one. And I'm going to change it to limit stacked. And my upper dimension, I'm going to add that tolerance to that upper dimension, 0.03. And I'm going to leave my lower one there because it says the dimension given. 1 inch was my given dimension. Just going to say OK. Wonderful. It says to better control the hole locations, use datum dimensioning for the dimensions along the long dimension, aka the 5-inch dimension. Note that the datum location is shown on the drawing above. So it shows right here that this is the datum dimension. So I started off by doing that. If you have chain dimensions right here, what you're going to do is you're going to add that baseline dimension. So once again, I'll show you. You're going to click, you can click the center or the outside of the hole. Right click continue. Okay, drag it down where it belongs down here. Then left click to place, right click to create. All right, so that one looks pretty good. So next one that I need to do, I need to add a unilateral deviation tolerance of 0.03 of an inch for the counterbore diameter on the 0.25-inch diameter hole. Change the precision of the counterbore diameter to show 3 digits to the right of the decimal place. So I need to still add dimensions up there. So some of you may have used the dimension tool, clicked, and then use the text box to add in the missing dimensions. So if you did that, I'm going to show you that method as well as another method. So for this one, I have a hole with a diameter of 0.75. So here would be an instance where you would add in that counterbore symbol. So you could add in like this. Instead of doing that, probably the easiest way for you to do this would be just to delete any of those dimensions and use what is called the hole and thread note. So this is pretty simple to use. You just click on the feature in which you wish to dimension, right click and say OK, and Inventor has just created all of those dimensions that you need. So it says on the 1/4-inch diameter hole, so that would be this one right here. So if I double click on this dimension, it comes up with this edit hole note box, which is unique just to hole notes. Okay, so here I have the diameter of the hole and the depth of the hole, and then I have my counterbore, the diameter of my counterbore, and the depth of my counterbore. Under the precision and tolerance button right here, if you click that, you'll probably end up with a box that looks like this, and you can expand the options just by clicking right there. So these are all the different features that are contained within this dimension. So we have our diameter for the first one, we have our depth, we have our counterbore, okay, and then we have the depth for that counterbore. So here what we're going to do is a unilateral deviation tolerance of plus 0.03 of an inch. So that's to the counter bore diameter. So right here is my counter bore diameter. So I'm going to click this box to enable the tolerance. I'm going to change it to the deviation, which is also the unilateral. I'm going to change my precision to 3 decimal places. Okay. I'm going to change this precision also to 3 decimal places. My upper limit, I can add 0.003, and over here, I'm going to add in a subtraction symbol because I cannot minus anything. I'm then going to say OK. Say OK again. Okay. And that should give me my unilateral tolerance. All right, so that one looks pretty good. So next one that we're going to do is letter E, so a bilateral or symmetric tolerance of 0.02 of an inch on the 1/2 inch diameter countersunk hole. So that would be this one right here. So countersink, countersunk. If I double click on that dimension, I'm going to also go to the precision and tolerance. I'm going to expand my options, and I'm going to change the tolerance on the hole diameter. So that would be this one right here. So I want to do a symmetric, 0.002, change my precision to 3, change that precision to 3, say OK, and say OK again. So that should add that whole note to the top right there. Taking an additional look, it says, add the following general tolerance notes to the drawing. You don't have to do that because Inventor already has done that for you right down here. If you were to change the border, you should be able to go to edit definition, and you could go in here and you could edit the tolerances by clicking there and then going through here. So if you wanted to, you could do that. However, it's not necessarily necessary because this shows millimeters and inches. Okay, but I'm just going to show you 020 for 1 decimal place, 010 for 2 decimal places, 0.005. So this one was the only one that I changed. So go ahead and actually do that. And then just hit finish sketch, say yes, and it should change that tolerance right there for you. So it says, consider the drill block from the question above. If the detailed drawing used chain dimensioning to locate the holes along the 5-inch dimension as shown in the image below, and therefore the tolerances are additive, what would be the upper and lower limit of the dimension from the left edge to the center of the 1/4 inch diameter hole on the right, assuming general tolerances apply?